Welcome everyone to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 4. It's called All is Possible. So full spoilers for the episode as always. And this episode has three plot lines running simultaneously. We have a Tillie discovering her love of teaching and passing on her skills to new cadets. We have Booker going into therapy. And then we also have the main kind of diplomatic issue, which is the Vulcans rejoin the Federation, and Michael and
Saru?
Thank you, Saru. Yes, the Kelpien. I just kept hearing Kelpien in my head. I'm like, oh, God damn it, what's his name?
You say Vulcan, but it's Navarre because it's both Vulcans and Romulans.
True. I keep forgetting the word Navarre, so I'm just defaulting to Vulcan. But yes,
think of it like
right.
Navarre Burton. Now you'll never forget.
Is that how you remember it?
Maybe.
Okay.
Also, I heard it like 800 times in the show.
So, that's what we're doing this episode. So, I guess I'll start off slightly positive.
Okay.
Slightly. Don't get too excited. I think this one probably annoyed me the least out of the episodes thus far.
So, what did annoy you?
I think I appreciate some of the things that this episode is trying to do. I think the actual diplomatic stuff is probably the stuff that irked me the most. I have some issues with that, but
I actually think it was the weakest plot when it probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah, it should
have been the best.
It should have been the best, especially given that it's Star Trek, and usually debating these kinds of issues are what makes Star Trek Star Trek. But
yeah. And there seems to be a little bit of a Shape of Water thing happening between the Navarre president and Saru.
She wants a bit of that Kelpian kipper.
No, I hate it.
If Saru doesn't use that word for his penis, he should. I'm putting it out there.
You don't even know if he has a penis.
True. It might be like a weird, like...
I mean, if she's Vulcan, she only has to do it like once every 7 years, and she might be like postmenopausal. So maybe it's just about companionship.
Wait, do Vulcans not get horny after they went through menopause?
I mean, like maybe the menopause will make it so they don't have to go through the, Ponfar every 7 years. I assume that only happens when they're like fertile.
So this is the problem, is that because we started calling their secret organization, well, the secret organization, but the women, we started calling them the Bene Gesserit just because it was the term from Dune. When you were trying to think of what you called their like fertile season, all I could hear in my head was the space melange.
I think I was calling them the Kwisatz Haderach, but actually Bene Gesserit would have been much better.
Yeah, Bene Gesserit.
Because they are all nuns.
Yes. Because Kwisatz Haderach's the chosen one. That's not...
Yeah.
That's not the group.
Well, I think they're called the Quatmalad.
So you want to say melange? It's not
it
melange.
might be right. I don't know. I don't have a LeVar Burton thing to relate it to, so I'm stuck.
Yeah, I think my problem with this plot, which is basically Michael and Saru are asked to come and join this like final talks for this reintegration into the Federation, and they're told they're just there to cover for someone who's sick and not to get involved, just be there and be official, just have a presence. But Michael of course has to open her mouth when things start to break down a little bit, because Navarre wants a compromise. They want basically a get out clause where there's no consequences for them just like leaving, which does seem a bit unfair because it means that it's the second anything gets rough, they could just walk away without contributing anything. So there is.
And the president's right. She's saying like, well, if we allow this for you guys, then like no one else is going to join without the same clause. Like, we're trying to establish trust here. And you're clearly saying that you don't trust us, but we'll be part of your club so long as we can bail at any moment.
Yeah, so like that part like makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but it turns out the president's actually kind of like knew this was coming, faked like the senator, whoever it was, having an illness, and wants Michael and Saru to kind of like maybe try and come up with a solution, right? Like as a third party. Although I would, this is maybe my first issue with this plot line, is that like, I don't know if I count Michael and Saru as a third party. They're both members of the Federation.
Right, yeah.
So that's problem number one.
She's saying that she represents Navarre also because she grew up on Navarre. She's a citizen of it. Well, she grew up on Vulcan, so she's technically a citizen through birthright or whatever.
Yeah,
she's
I think
not born on it.
My main
whatever
problem with this plotline though is that first of all it doesn't get enough time, so it's very, there's not a lot to it, right? It's Michael gets the idea and then presents it to the two, and it's like, hey, why don't we form a council that kind of assesses how everyone's doing in the Federation and if they're playing fair, and it can be independent from like the members. And obviously you'll want someone to sit on there that represents you, and luckily I'm of both worlds. I am this bridge. I think my problem with this is that unlike all the best of Star Trek that I have seen, this was just a perfectly convenient and neat solution that solved everyone's problems and made everyone happy. When the best thing about Star Trek is when the tough decisions and the outcomes aren't neat, and there is like sad parts to it, and there are compromises, and sometimes things don't work out. So this just felt like, oh, it's a happy solution for everyone. Everyone's nice and smiling and happy, and it's isn't it perfect? We have a solution that's saved the day. It felt like such a super convenient writing thing to me.
Okay, that happens in Star Trek all the time. It's called the Picard speech, and it always works.
Well, okay, Picard's better at it then, for a start,
Okay.
right? Let me just put that out there. But no, there's tons of times in Next Gen so far where it's not a happy outcome, where there isn't like a neat solution to the problem. Yeah, he convinces people from not doing a bad thing, but it doesn't like solve the problem, or it doesn't. This, to me, felt like this position where you could see why both sides felt the way they did, and it almost made sense where maybe they can't be part of the Federation right now. Maybe that's just not possible. Not that I hate the solution of having like an overseeing kind of like neutral committee that is there to kind of not police the Federation, but assess like the memberships and like the decisions that are being made. Like that's not necessarily a terrible idea on its own.
No, it sounds like kind of like a United Nations, answer.
Yeah,
like we'll have a representative for everybody.
So I mean that's fine. I don't know, when she started making the speech about how I'll be the bridge and I am of both worlds, I just kind of I felt a little bit like, yeah, you're of both worlds, but like
you're very Starfleet.
But you do feel way more Starfleet, and also it's been like 1,000 years, give or take, since you grew up in that world. Like things have changed a little bit since then. Like for example, when you grew up with the Vulcans, like the Romulans were like enemies, and now it's like this integrated society that you like.
They didn't even know what the Vulcans looked like.
Yeah, the Romulans, you mean?
I mean, yeah. Excuse me, the Romulans.
Yeah.
They didn't even know what the Romulans looked like.
Yeah, well, I remember that moment in the original series where they all see a Romulan for the first time, and
it's Spock's dad,
and they all turn and look at Spock, and are like, and Spock's like, my, what pointy ears he has.
And that one jerk ensign is like getting all bigoted.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Kirk calls him out for it. Said, leave your bigotry in your quarters. There's no room on it. My bridge. It's great. He's great.
Yeah. So
balance of terror.
I maintain that this show at times is far too happy. Like, there's like a really happy montage at the end where everyone's smiling and like hugging and talking, and I'm like, come on.
Where's my cynicism in Star Trek? God damn it.
Well, no, it's not that I want cynicism, but like Star Trek by its nature is a very optimistic show.
Future,
but,
yeah,
but
kind of like the spirit of Star Trek, one would say.
But I feel like other Star Trek shows like do interesting things to show that, rather than just have everyone constantly be exceedingly happy with each other by the end of the episode.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like happiness is like a theme in Star Trek, but optimism certainly is. And
I-
maybe the show is confusing the two of them, but
I think it is, and I think the other problem is as well is that it tends to be tied with explaining why they're happy, like why the story of the episode has made them fulfilled and happy. So it's like beating us over the head with its messaging, which is a problem I've had with this show forever. Is like the
I
writing.
suppose. I mean, there are characters who are consistently unhappy and like going through trauma and going through like just not being sure of themselves.
Yeah,
I mean, people are still like figuring out their place, and it's season 4.
yeah. Maybe that's a problem in and of itself that
I
we're
don't
in
know.
season
It
4.
sounds like both things are going on, but you're still upset about it.
Which is impressive. which is not like it's a fair point to make, but just because the other thing is going on doesn't negate that the other side doesn't feel right.
Mm.
No? Okay, look, fine. Right. Can we talk about Gray's new haircut? Because I had a lot of reactions to this. It's like a mullet with bangs, and I'm not sure the world was ready or deserves.
Yeah, he's
such
very
a thing.
rock star. He's got a very rock star look going on.
Like, it's not often I feel like I'm offended by a haircut, but I think I almost vomited a little bit when I saw this haircut. Like, I would have had no problems with a mullet, but a mullet with bangs, like, it was like, okay, you know what? You're crossing the streams. This
Mullets
is
are coming back. They're coming back. They're on trend for, people who want to be against the grain.
well, I can't grow a mullet, so I.
Is that what this is? Are you just upset
Oh no!
that you can't look like you came off the hockey rink in the 1990s?
I have no problems with actual mullets. Some people hate them, but mullet with bangs is not. It's not. You have bangs
Look,
or you have a mullet.
Gray
You don't
got to
have
choose
both.
his body, and this is what he chose. This is the Avatar hairstyle that he paid for and said, "This is the one I want. This is my DLC."
Oh dear. That aside, obviously this plays into Adira's plot for the episode, which plays into Tillie's plot for the episode, which is Tillie to go find herself, goes to sort of take a day to be an instructor for some cadets at Starfleet Academy, and Culber has the idea that maybe Adira could use the lessons, get a bit of experience. So Adira goes with. Although Adira seems to think that they're going to be like, the second in
Partners?
command,
Yeah.
like next in line. But then Tellie's like, no, I think for the purpose of this, it's better you see yourself as one of the cadets.
I thought this was kind of a mistake on Tillie's part, like trying to make Adira feel like they're a student again. Like, I know Adira has a lot to learn still, and Tillie just flat out says it, but at the same time, like, they are, already an ensign, and they already don't feel like they're capable enough in your eyes, and you're literally demoting them.
Yeah, well, I think what I liked about this plot, which was, it was 4 cadets, but one of them doesn't last very long.
Was he a cadet, or he was just a pilot?
I think he was both. I think he was the cadet who was piloting. I could be wrong.
Mm.
But which that was actually one of the things that bugged me about like all the happy speeches at the end. Like Tillie's cracking jokes about her day, and I'm like, you killed a
the
shouldn't.
guy. Captain Killy is back.
A shouldn't died under your watch. You should not be cracking jokes about how it's a
I
typical
don't think
day.
he was a student. I don't think he was a cadet, because he had a different uniform on.
Okay, fine. But even if he's not a student, still under her command.
A man died on her watch. Yeah.
Like, even if it wasn't her on her command, like a man died in front of her. It doesn't even matter if it's her fault or not. She still witnessed someone die.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, she's like, it's a typical day. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, right, Tillie.
Remember when we used to snore together?
You loved me snoring, didn't you, Mike? I was like, shut up. Sickening.
I like this plotline though. I thought it was good. I think this
thought
was
it
my
was
favorite
mostly
one.
like I like the idea that because all the worlds were separate for so long, that all of these new cadets like just don't know how to interact with other species and other races from other
Do you think
worlds.
this is supposed to be paralleling like COVID? All the students who've been home from school, and some of them have not even like been in school ever, and now all of a sudden they're being thrown into like second grade or whatever, or first grade, and have to learn how to interact again with humans.
Yeah, I guess I like that as a piece of analysis. I'm not convinced the writers of this show are that smart.
Oh, come on. That's so cruel.
I'm calling it like a season. I'm not like that.
I mean, the first season was blatantly like the rise of Trump and nationalism as shown through the parallel or the mirror universe. You don't think they have the ability to do that again with the current event, a big one that's affecting the whole world?
I remain skeptical.
I mean, even the political side of things seems very much like, we're too divided right now, and we need to be able to compromise and come together. Otherwise, we're just going to stay divided, and no one's going to have trust in us again. After going through what we went through before.
But it's all right because Michael found a loophole. Rather than like talk them through the difficult decision, there's a loophole.
Was it a loophole or was it just like a compromise?
I mean, it was a compromise, but like they only came to the
I get it. You hate the show.
You compare it to
Next
Picard
week it'll be just me on here talking about the show with no one.
You compare it to Picard making speeches, but Picard would usually have to convince someone to make a tough decision and like why it's the right choice to make. Whereas in this show, there's always some sort of like, aha, but this fixes everything for everyone button. Something they've nestled. And I'm not saying classic Star Trek never had a solution to fix everything, because it obviously did from time to time.
I mean,
but this show's
their
constantly...
captain literally got out of a no-win scenario.
Aye, but cheating. which in and of itself is an interesting like commentary that sometimes the only way to win is to break the rules.
I think Burnham does that every other episode.
Well, that's the problem. Like that's the problem.
She's very Kirk.
That's a problem with a lot of new media, though, is they look at something from an old movie or an old series and they just keep repeating the exact same, like you just said, she's not just done it once, she does it like every other episode. She has to
that's a character thing, yeah.
But it reads like someone saying, oh, I really like Wrath of Khan and like the no-win scenario, so we're going to have our character do that like constantly. Yeah. Remember proton packs? We're going to do a slow motion of the proton pack and all the lights turn it on, and then we're going to...
Wrong series or wrong franchise.
I know, but it's the same problem basically. It's like, remember that thing we liked? We're going to do it over and over again. On a macro sense, same problem. Anyway.
Well, I like that in the far future. The Federation still has the same problem of anytime you go on a shuttlecraft, you're 50-50 chance of dying.
That's true. I mean, no, to be fair, there was only one person out of like, what, 5 or 6 that died?
Yeah, it's just immediate danger every time you choose to travel by shuttle pod.
Yeah, I liked the concept of this plot line. I did think some of the bickering between the cadets was maybe a little, on the nose. Like, it was just kind of blunt and straight to the point it was making. But other than that, I liked kind of what it was doing. I liked that, there's a bit of there's the monster chase. There's the kind of like, okay, we have to kind of accept that we can't just like stay in the ship. We have to like turn off all our devices and just sort of, it's just, this is going to be us on our own trying to figure this out. So
right.
I appreciated that. Obviously the effects in the show are typically very good. I thought the monster chasing them in the snow looked great. The one thing that did stick out as looking a little bit weak to me was, I'll call it the ice quicksand that Adira gets trapped in.
I mean, it looked okay. I thought it looked pretty good. I like the idea of it.
It was when it was spreading, I thought, that just looks like, it looked more like just normal TV CG. Like, so it wasn't terrible, but it was like, oh, that sticks out because it's not as great as all of the other effects.
It was a cool looking monster, and it looked like at one point it like replicated itself.
Yeah,
it just like split.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was saying, because if it can replicate itself, why not just keep replicating itself? So I was.
Yeah, it was. Maybe they just like are two creatures that burrow together, and then when they get to the surface, they can separate. I don't know. It's an alien thing, so it could be many things, I suppose. It's just at one point it looked like one, and it became two.
Yeah, it never became any more than that though. So I think it was just two. But yeah, it did that thing where it separated. Yeah. So most of that was reasonably fun, I would say. They get up to a mountaintop
ice planet
where they can get to a signal, and they get beamed out just in time. Tillie's about to be monster food, and then kaboom.
Right, they all worked together and saved each other. It was good team building exercise.
Yes.
And Tillie found her calling, and I guess she's off the show forever, which is super sad.
She's not. Shut up. Like, we're
is she
obviously
just pulling a Saru?
We're going to. Well, I don't even think it'll be like that though. I think we're going to see her do her. Like, I wouldn't surprise me if we see these cadets again, like under her, like in her class or whatever she's doing now at Starfleet Academy. Like, I think we're going to see her. Like, maybe we'll leave her for an episode or two, but like I think we're going to see like some stuff of her at the academy, and then we'll see her whenever they're back at Federation docking, because that seems to be where they're all based anyway.
If this is Tillie's like character arc, I think it's pretty good. Like the idea, I loved in the first. I loved the first season. So like I loved Tillie in the first season when she had this dream of becoming a captain, and like she announced it to Michael on the first day they met, just to like break the ice. Even just like, I just need to tell somebody that this is my plan. And I love the arc in the first season where she kind of gets that wish, or she sees like a version of herself as Captain Killy. And it's almost like it plants this seed of the only way that I can attain that dream is if I'm this awful person. Instead of like doing what's right, it's going to take a long time. But like this version of me was able to do it, as an ensign, because she was so brutal and ruthless, and I'm not that version of her. So maybe there has always been this seed since then of she won't be able to get to the captain, or maybe that dream just kind of died after that, since she's already sort of seen a version of that.
Yeah, well, she explains in the end of the episode that when she got promoted to lieutenant, she kind of had this realization that she always felt that she was doing like Starfleet for her because it's not what her parents wanted, but there's maybe this slight. I mean, I thought she was going to say that part of like her Starfleet dreams was like because it wasn't what her parents wanted. Like it was almost like it wasn't for them, but it was, in the sense that it was about rebelling against what they wanted, like her whole life. Sure. She doesn't quite say that though. She says that she realized that like even though it's not what they wanted her to do, them not seeing her be promoted was something she felt, and like, oh, maybe I did want them to see this. Maybe like part of this was about being seen for who I am, and now that I can't show the people I was trying to prove who I am to, maybe the specifics are a lot. Maybe they've changed a little bit. Maybe I feel like there's more of a purpose that I can achieve elsewhere, and given that she was this like nervous, maybe shy is not the right word, but nervous, and like the way she was back in season 1 where she was so unsure of herself, where she was making mistakes, maybe the idea that she actually thinks, oh well, I gain confidence and I'm a pretty decent officer, maybe I can help young people who are struggling with this, maybe I can give them my experience to get through that. Like all of that makes sense. Like so from a narrative choice, I think it's good. Yeah.
I just don't want Tillie to leave because I truly think she's the best character on the show.
Yeah, I think a lot of my problems with this show tend to be less. I mean, some of the ideas are kind of shit, but like for the most part, there's a lot of good ideas too. It tends to be the execution of the ideas that tends to be the faulter rather than the ideas itself. So I have no problems with any of this conceptually. All of it's.
Yeah, and I guess now like Adira is sort of taking the Tillie spot, which
yeah, kind of
okay. I still wanted to be Tillie.
yeah.
But I actually was surprised that Gray didn't really have a storyline this episode. since it was, the one after his resurrection.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. But technically, the actor's still a guest star, so I guess it's just like, no, like he's still there for Adira's plot rather than being a focal point, which is fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, maybe that'll change. Maybe they'll give him a show promotion at some point.
Well,
but...
he was in Starfleet before.
True. Well, no, I mean the actor. I don't mean the character. I meant a show promotion, as in he'll be elevated character-wise to actually get more screen time and also maybe become a regular or something. But yes. What else do we have? We had Booker in therapy with Culber. Not too much to say here. He's obviously still dealing with all of his issues. Culber tries to get him to do this sort of like fancy sand sculpting thing that's like part of his heritage.
It's like some sort of 3D printer exercise.
But, it's not the same because it's not the sands of his planet, and there's all these, you may feel the wind of this and all that. And as he's saying it, he's like obviously basically realizing that he'll never feel that again. This sand doesn't exist anymore. Like, it's all gone. And, Culber tries to like get him to open up. I mean, this obviously all makes sense. I didn't really get a whole lot out of the scenes specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I think the actor's pretty good, and he showed like some nice emotion in the later part of it, for sure. Just, really dealing with the weight of what has happened to his planet. I know that's kind of been going on, but like the fact that he's talking to a professional about it, and it seems to be, the emotion feels a bit different in this one, where like this is something that he's truly dealing with now, instead of just, keeping it to himself.
Yeah, I don't really have like any good reasons or analysis. Like I think it's just fine. Like maybe it's just.
I mean, it's nice seeing Dr. Culber as like the Deanna Troi of the series all of a sudden.
Maybe it's just like I needed more of a definitive like thing that he like realized or learned by the end of the episode to give it more of a like a direct kind of like result. But honestly, the most interesting thing about this plot line in this episode is actually when he kind of flips the question around on Culber and says, like, is there something like you need to talk about? And he's like, yeah, there is, and maybe someday I will. And I thought, okay, right. I felt like that actually kind of opened up a little bit to like, maybe he's also going through stuff. Maybe there's stuff to explore there.
He's the Macho Man resurrected from the dead.
That is true. Not a lot of stamets this episode. We just kind of see him at the start and the end. He's working away on science stuff, and
he hugs Tillie at the end. Also, I thought it was interesting that Tillie, when she's in the scene with Culber in the beginning, and is talking about how the Bene Gesserits have this absolute candor thing, and how she admired that, or she wanted to be more like that. And I was just like, Tillie, what are you talking about? Like, you've been nothing but absolute candor from like the very beginning.
Yeah,
she doesn't keep anything in.
Yeah, she doesn't really play anything close to the chest, does she? She's
no.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Yeah. Did you dig the formal dress that Michael and Saru wear? It's all red like the Wrath of Khan. It's like their interpretation of the.
Yeah, but I would have preferred if when they were like on their break, if they let a button loose, so they had the white flap. That's the best part of the outfit, is that you get the white flap, so oh, they're on break.
That's the best part. Yeah.
It's okay. I actually don't love I was thinking about it. I don't love the uniforms in this. This is probably my least favorite uniform season. I think they're kind of dumpy looking. Everyone looks kind of dumpy.
I think I appreciate the colours. I will say I don't like the new badges where the emblem's in like an oval, so you can barely see the actual emblem, and it just kind of looks like a little oval in their chest. I kind of miss it just being a clear, distinct. It's just because it's one of those logos where, I mean, sure, the star's in the middle, but you don't really need to see that. Like, you just see that, slightly angled shape, and you're like, oh, that's the Starfleet logo. And it's kind of weird. It makes
sense. Like, every series, they've changed the logo up.
I know, but it's weird to me to put it inside another shape where now I can't see it. Unless the light hits it just right where I can see it sort of reflecting.
Yeah, I think it would have been better if it was if it was gold on the inside and then the circle part was silver, because that way you would have the same contrast as before but reversed. I think that'd be cool.
I think it looks cheaper, I guess, as well, is maybe my other thing.
Well, they need to be cost efficient, in the future.
It looks like it's printed on a sort of more generic badge as opposed to like a proper like emblem that's pinned to your chest. I don't know. Maybe that's just nitpicky stuff, but
yeah.
It is what it is. And I realised I said at the start this was probably the one I'm most positive on, and then proceeded to be mostly negative.
So negative.
Look, if the show gets better, I'll be more positive. Okay. This is why you're here to balance things out. You can.
I'm good cop. Got it.
You can.
It's hard to watch something like, okay, show, like when you go to watch a comedian and you sit down and like, okay, comedian, make me laugh, funny guy. I feel like that's how you're dealing with Discovery. Okay, Discovery, make me like you.
That is not my attitude. That is not my attitude, and even if it was, there's one thing having that attitude after like 3 seasons of it disappointing me. It's earned it. And I don't think I do have that attitude though, right? Yes, I'm not looking forward to the episodes that much. I'm kind of like, okay, it's time for Discovery this week, and I'm like, oh, let's see how it does. I'm not close-minded to the idea that maybe it'll get better, but I have been holding out hope every season that it's going to get better, and we're in season 4 now, so eventually I just have to start calling it like I sees it and just play it straight with absolute candor, one might say.
Well, I like to keep Roddenberry's optimism alive. That's what I'm here for.
Roddenberry would be rolling in his grave right now if he could see this.
He'd say it's not pervy enough. Where's the sex planets?
Why are the female officers not wearing either skin tight outfits or skirts? What's happening?
Yeah, where are the cat suits?
So yeah, there you go.
Yep.
I don't know why I'm doing this frilly hand movement multiple times. It's just my way of saying I'm done talking.
Yes, here's your gift of podcast.
Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters for mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv and support us over there for as little as $1 per month, and keep all the content coming. It makes the whole thing sustainable. I've been saying that a lot today. I've recorded like 3 things and I keep throwing the word sustainable at the end.
Improve.
But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?